I can measure your monthly listeners. I can measure your Instagram followers, but like, are you the person who's going to quit when it gets hard? Are you the person that's going to get down on themselves when you get said no to for the 100th time? I am in this for good, bad, or indifferent, hell or high water. And, you know, for my artists, like if you're not on the same path, like we're not going to work well together, plain and simple.
Welcome to your weekly elevation, your dose of real strategies for real results in dance music. I'm Olivia, and today we're tackling something I see in my DMs constantly. It's this belief that it's impossible to build something real in dance music in 2025. And to that, I say bullshit, because why did we sell out Chicago Music Nexus if that was the case? Now, I keep hearing the industry's too saturated, that festivals only work with certain artists and there's no point in trying anymore. I'm sick of the complaining. Listen, guys, today's guest, Jason Euler, is living proof that this mindset is dead wrong. Starting with just a couple $100 and a party bus, he built something so valuable that one of the biggest independent promoters in dance music eventually acquired his company. What I love about this conversation is that Jason doesn't just share his success story, he actually breaks down exactly how he thought about building value when no one was paying attention, why he kept going when others would have quit, and how he turned every no into a fuel for his next move. So if you've been feeling discouraged about your place in this industry, this conversation's your wake-up call. Let's dive in. I feel like I already know you because I've been following you and vice versa for so long. But what I don't know is what you did before music. So kind of walk me through that journey. You were just telling me about baseball, but how did you get into the music world?
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, I from age 3 to about 24, I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player, and I chased that dream all the way through high school, into college, and then into a brief stint in the minor leagues for the St. Louis Cardinals organization. I got cut in August of 2016, and a month later, a few friends invited me to Mad Decent Block Party here in Arizona, and I really didn't listen to electronic music. I was going to country shows like prior to that. And I'm like, I don't know, guys, not for me, like not really my scene. And they dragged me out, and I went, had the absolute time of my life. And I actually got stranded. I had so much fun. I ditched all my friends, started making friends with strangers as one does at a music festival. And I got stranded without a ride home because they thought I had left because I hated it and my phone died. And I ended up paying like $150 to get home in an Uber. So the next event, I started running party buses to the festivals. And that was how I got my foot in the door, by running party buses to the festivals.
Wow. Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, 1 point for electronic music. Screw you, country. Just kidding. I don't know if you're still a country fan, but
I'm here and there, like it's a little nostalgic sometimes, but like I am full dance these days.
Sure. Well, that's so crazy that you had you solved the problem. You're like, okay, this is never happening again. I'm going to start running party buses. So you had the entrepreneur bug in you pretty young. And I don't know, did you realize it at that time? Like, hey, maybe this is something? I
realized it senior year of high school. I was a student council president at my high school. And a lot of my friends were complaining about the school dances my senior year. Like, oh, they play horrible music. They won't let you grind. Like they breathalyze everyone at the door. Like just all these, like they were so strict. And so I went to like the faculty and I'm like, hey guys, like maybe breathalyze the people who are like obviously drinking, you know, like let's work on the music here a little bit and like maybe loosen the rules just a tad. Like we'll keep it respectful. And they're like, no way, no how. And I actually went to the faculty. I'm like, okay, well, like if you guys don't want to play ball, I'm going to go do this on my own. So I threw a dance competing with the school's dance on the same exact day. I sold tickets out of my pocket in the commons. Like I didn't have I had a Facebook event page, like Eventbrite didn't exist. Instagram wasn't a thing. I made the tickets at my mom's office and printed flyers out there. And I literally just sold tickets for cash out of my pocket at high school. I had 900 kids go to my dance and there were 100 kids that went to the school's dance. And then I got impeached as student body president like a week later. So that's where it all started. And it was just a necessity of like my friends were kind of bagging on the dances, and I'm like, you're right, we could do this better. So, I had like $2,000 at the time from like shoveling driveways and mowing lawns, like any way a high school kid makes money. And I literally just put all of that in. I got a venue, security, lighting director, and I did it at one of the main venues in my hometown. And luckily it worked out.
That is the best story I've ever heard.
Yeah.
That is. So your parents, were they like in support of this, or did they think you were nuts?
No, my mother's the most supportive woman on planet Earth. Like, she just wants to see me happy and enjoy stuff. Like, they put out like a robocall to the school district saying like, there's an unsanctioned school dance. Like, don't let your kids go to this. Like, they were actively coming after me as an 18-year-old trying to stop it. And my mom went to bat for me. She helped me get the event insurance. She like basically had to go sit and tell the principal, like, leave my kid alone. Like, you're being a immature grown up right now. And she had my back all the way through. And then all the profit I made, I ended up just donating it after the event anyways.
Okay. Wow. I don't really know where to go from here, because that's insane. So
yeah. So that was where it started. So that bug's always been there, and even with the party buses, like, I didn't go run my first party bus to the festival like, oh, I'm going to try and start a business out of this. What had happened was, after I got off the party bus, legit the last person that walked off the bus goes, what's the plan for the next festival? And it was 3 a.m. after Global Dance in 2016, and the light bulb goes off. I had no money to start the business, so I made a company email address because that was free. And then the next day I made a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter page because those were free. And I rented another bus for $500, and the journey started there.
That's incredible. I was, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 32 right now. I was 24 years old when that had happened with the party buses.
So I'm 33, and I was just talking about party buses the other day. We had them. I went to Illinois State, and we had them where you could rent them for like $3, and you could drink on them, and they'll take you to the bars.
And then you're going to go with all your friends. Like,
yeah, it was the best. They took them off Illinois State campus because they were just like, it's just like so much of a liability. But that was back in the good old days when you could just kind of get away with.
Oh, for sure. Especially in the Midwest. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. 100%. And like, we weren't, photographing and taking video of everything.
No, God, different time.
Very. So, okay. So you had your party bus company, and then what came next?
Yeah. So I went from running one bus to two buses to three buses. And like, next thing I know, I'm transporting hundreds to the thousands of people to the festivals with Relentless Beats. And funny enough, I ended up writing an email and a letter to Relentless Beats. I'm like, hey, I'm really solving this transportation issue. I'm collecting a lot of data. We're having a lot of fun here. Like, I would love to work with you guys, or, and at that point, I'm like, I just want to go to the shows for free, so I don't have to pay for tickets. And I never got an email or got written back to. So, next in my brain, I'm like, well, how hard could throwing a show be? Turns out it's extremely difficult. But on my 25th birthday, a year after running party buses straight, I rented out Shady Park in Arizona, which is like one of the most iconic venues for dance here. It was a Thursday night, and I did it on my birthday. I booked a headliner, promoted the show, did the flyers, and we sold it out on a Thursday, and it just kind of snowballed from there. I went on to that was in 2017, and then 2018, I went on to do like 70 to 80 events that year while still running the party buses.
Wow.
Yeah. And then February of 2019, so I just hit my 6 year at Relentless Beats. February of 2019, they acquired my company and brought me into Relentless Beats full time, ironically enough, years after. So, I've been here 6 years now. And, the festivals I was once running the party buses to, going as an attendee, I'm now actively getting to curate and create the experiences and see other people enjoy the things that got me to fall in love with dance music at the end of the day.
That's an amazing testament to how important it is to not give up, because a lot of people would give up after that letter went unanswered.
Yeah. And I mean, baseball really tied into that. Like, I can't tell you how many rejections I got from colleges. Like, I used to keep literally all the rejection letters from college coaches in a shoebox in my room, and I would read them. But like, it only took that one coach to give me a chance and, give me an opportunity to go play. And, luckily I really built that resilience for 20 years because it's just such a hard sport. And I really brought that like athlete mindset into the dance world. So, it was always like, I know I just need to try again and keep trying. And the only way I truly fail is if I quit. And I never have had that in me.
Yeah, collecting rejections is such a powerful tool that I think so many people are afraid of,
Mhm.
because they think it's like the end of the road. But you learn so much about yourself, whether it's from someone telling you why they're rejecting you or how you're responding to the rejection. And it just
Absolutely.
helps build resilience.
And I think the biggest thing, and I always press this with anyone in the music industry, is just like, you know, you have to change the way you view the word no. Like me, I'm encouraged by it. I am one no closer to someone saying yes instead of being one no further away from my goal. And it's that simple shift in like mindset and paradigm that I think really allows you to go attack something that's really difficult to accomplish.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It's a simple mindset shift, like you said.
But
Um,
it's a hard one to leap to because, we put so many blockers on ourselves as human, and it's natural to listen to the doubt and the voice in our head and things like that. But, you have to listen to that fake little voice that's like, get up and try just one more time.
100%. And I've been thinking about this a lot. It seems like you're someone who's really into personal development, and that's kind of been like innate to you since you were young. But I've been thinking about how internal strategies inform external. Like you can have the best marketing plan, you can be a good networker, you can have all these things. But if you're not like good inside, if you're not comfortable with no's, if you don't build resilience, if you don't build healthy habits, like none of
Yeah.
that stuff is going to take you very far.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of my favorite quotes is Mike Tyson. He said this about boxing. He said, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And I
Mhm.
think that could not allude like more true to business and especially the music industry. Like you can have the best plans in the world, but until you get in the ring and you get hit, it's how you respond afterwards.
Absolutely. So you are art managing artists. Relentless Beats acquired your company. How are you managing your time between all of these things? Because what I try to relate to the people who listen to the show who are primarily DJs and then secondarily people who are working in the industry, you really do kind of have to have your tentacles in lots of different places, to diversify your income and just make sure you have longevity. So
Absolutely.
how do you do that?
I I work with incredible people. Like there's no substitute of that like at all. From like the management company, I have Annie and Bree who are on my team, and they're just rock stars, and they really help me keep the artists afloat on that front. The team at Relentless, we're a very tight knit group. We're an independent music promoter. We're not owned by Live Nation. We're not owned by AEG or the big conglomerate. So it really comes down to like everyone having the mindset of grab the rope and pull, and everyone being their own version of a leader. Because I always say, like, leadership's not a position, it's not a rank. Leadership's a choice to look out to the people to the left of you and the people to the right of you. And I work with people who make that choice every day. And from there, like, I'm organized. Like, I have my daily planner, I'm still writing in. My Google Calendar is like down to a T. Like, my Google Drive is organized to a T. So like, really, one of my superpowers as a manager and what I do is my organization as well. So I'm really adamant about that, and even the way I organize my email. So it really comes down to having systems in place, and those systems can be with technology or they can be with people. But I always focus on my systems at the end of the day, and you'll only grow as far as your systems allow you to.
Yeah, that's such an important topic because it's not just DJs, it's people in general don't have systems. And when it's an industry like this where it's very volatile, things are happening last minute, it is hard to stay organized when everyone around you is in chaos. So what are your tips for like being able to just kind of be that rock for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very fortunate. Like, I really I hate saying this, but like, I've never experienced burnout like at all. And I mean, I really burn the candle at both ends. Anyone on one of my teams will tell you that. Like, I eat, sleep, and breathe this. I work nights, I work weekends, and everyone's like, "Well, how do you keep it work?" And I'm like, "It's not work. It's a lifestyle." Like, I just did 2 weeks in Europe on tour with Econova, and I'm having to sell sponsorship back here in the States. I'm 10 to 9 hours apart. I'm up late over there, and then I got to go on 4 hours of sleep. But like, I love this so much. And at the end of the day, like, there is nothing that will carry you through any difficulty like passion will. And I think the biggest thing I always lean into is like understanding the difference between being motivated and being driven. Like you can wake up any day and be motivated to go to the gym, or like, I'm motivated to get this done. I feel good right now. What about the day you feel like crap and you wake up and like you don't want to go and you don't want to go do that thing? Like that's where drive comes in and being driven. And really that passion behind one, like seeing my artists succeed and grow into be the best versions of themselves, seeing the impact from our events at Relentless Beats, and like being on stage in the middle of the night watching 10,000 people lose their mind. Like those, like that 10% of moments is why I do the 90% of difficulty, because I love that 10% so much. And that really drives everything.
Yeah, I love that answer. I'm interested. So I'm not sure if I knew or I didn't think about the fact that Relentless Beats is not owned by Live Nation and that you're independent. I have been getting a lot of criticism, and I welcome it. Criticism, feedback on my social media, because it just helps my engagement. But people, really saying that artists are powerless in 2025, that 5 agencies, own the lion's share of talent buying, and that it's impossible to grow as an artist because, of X, Y, and Z. So that's why I really like talking to independent promoters and event producers about the state of things, because I have a feeling that you have a different opinion, that it's not all doom and gloom for artists right
absolutely. Now. And I think like even with you, like, I've seen your growth on the pod over the years and the projects you're taking on, like that feedback shows growth. I'm a big fan of like Rick Rubin, who's just a great thought leader in the music industry, but like he said, good art splits the audience. And if you're not splitting the audience, you're not truly creating something that's great. And just like you're seeing it in your own world, like we see it on the events where I get good feedback and negative feedback from fans all the time, and at the end of the day, like if you believe it's all doom and gloom, it absolutely is. Like you create the reality that's inside your head. So if you're going to sit there and tell yourself that in your head, you've already determined that, and that will absolutely be your result. Like I'm a glass half full guy, and I'm an optimist. Like I could be in the darkest, deepest, most difficult place, and I'm like, I see a way out or a light at the end of the tunnel, and I know I just have to have grit to get there. And I think with artists, like, everyone always asks me, like, what do you look for most when you want to manage an artist? And like the number one thing I lean into is grit. Like, do you have that grit to carry through when things get difficult, when it doesn't go your way, and all of that? But, other people have done it. I've seen other artists go on to succeed. I've seen other management go on to succeed. Like they put their pants on one leg at a time, no different than me. Like, why can't I accomplish that as well? Like for me, I look at those things. I'm like, okay, well, there's proof it can be done. It's just a matter of going and doing it. And like, maybe it takes 5 years, maybe it takes 10, like, God, I think David Guetta was in his 40s before he took off. Solomon was in his 30s before like his project took off. Like we're all on a different journey and different timeline. Like no one has my experiences and background. So why compare to what someone else is doing? It's apples to oranges. I'm on my own path. And I really stress that with my artists too. I think I saw Gasly put out a really great tweet kind of talking about some of those things the other week. And like, his story is inspiring. Where like, I know David personally, and like he failed 3 times living in LA, had to move back to his parents' farm, work on the farm in Arizona just to go back to LA and fail again. And then finally, he went out, dialed in, and it worked for him. And, he didn't have the doom and gloom. The guy put his nose down and grinded, and he's toured the world now.
That's an amazing story. And one thing is true across, all perspectives, is that if you complain, it's a non-starter. Like if you just want to bitch and moan, it is a non-starter. And I've again, I welcome the negative feedback, but it's like, I know now from experience putting Chicago Music Nexus together with Sherm, we were just 2 people with an idea, and we made it happen. And it was our investment. I mean, for some people, it's a lot of money what we invested. For others, it's not. But we found a way to be resourceful. We leaned on our community. We had the head bartender from Spy Bar come in and create the drink program with the alcohol we got, sponsored from Sherm's relationship, and one of my clients sponsored. Like, you can do it if you put your mind to whatever that project is.
And it's just taking that leap, and like, you don't access the most creative parts of your brain until you make the leap and put your back against the rope. And it's like, you can't actually start problem solving to grow something until you go put yourself in it. And that's exactly what you and Sherm did there. And I can't tell you how many stories I have like that, where I threw my money in and I had, the only way out was through. And you experienced that. And like, that's where the growth actually comes from. So
Totally.
that's
And
love that story of you and Sherm too, because as we talked about before this, I'm a huge fan of Sherm and everything he's done, and really cool to see what you guys have built out there as well.
thank you. Yeah, it's like, we put the deposit down. We're like, oh, like, oh my God, this is a big chunk of money, like, on something that was like unfounded at the time. And we sold out. And it's like, I think that it's like that first step that people are so afraid to take, even if it's like $50 on hiring a freelancer on Fiverr to create a graphic. People are just so afraid because they're like, what if it doesn't work out? And like,
Dear
guess
God.
what? It's probably not. And then you have to try again and again and again. But people like, I don't know I have my tools for building resilience, but this is about you. What are your tools? What are your suggestions for building resilience?
I Again, I have to lean back to like baseball. Like, baseball, if you hit 300, you're a Hall of Famer, which means those guys in the professionals get paid millions of dollars to fail 70% of the time. And I went into music with the same exact mindset as like, I don't need to be right 10 out of 10 times. Like, when I was throwing my own shows, like, I can't tell you how many times where I'm like, I'd lose five or seven or $10,000 in a single night. There's 15 people in the room for an artist I just paid $5,000 for at the end of the night. And I'm feeling like I just got punched in the stomach. And, like, I got back up. And like, even after that, like, I had shows where I'm like, I was down to my last penny. And I'm like, all right, I would tell my team, I'm like, yo guys, like, this next show's going on the credit card. Like, this is it. Like, if we don't figure out how to make this show work, like, we're at the end of the road. And, I went all in. And there, again, when your back is against the rope, you get creative. But, resiliency, again, comes from like in welcoming failure. Again, it goes back to that mindset. Like, I'm one no closer to a yes. I'm one failure closer to a success. And I just had to shift my mindset into that ultimate belief and be uncanny and undoubting in it. And I truly adopted it. And to this day, I'm still apt to risk and wanting to try things. And I welcome failure. I really do.
Yeah. It's because like the cool thing is, how I view life now as an entrepreneur, as someone who used to be risk adverse. I grew up risk adverse because that was kind of the money messages I received from, my family, and I had to rework that. But now I know that if like I lost all my clients, everything failed, and I went back to zero today, it wouldn't really be zero because I'm on top of this mountain of knowledge that I've gained along the way.
And relationship.
Yeah. And you can't acquire that until you try.
Absolutely. I mean, I had multiple shows. I zeroed out my bank account and maxed out my credit card. I took a pink slip against my car one time. I called my mom and I'm like, Mom, I'm all in. Like, if this fails, I'm moving home. And I forget what book it was I read, but I read a book that said, before you go to attempt anything, you have to think, what's the absolute worst that happens if you just fall flat on your face and fail? And for most people in America, like, I could move home with my mom. I have running water. I have electricity, and she cooks a pretty damn good meal. Like, that was my worst reality. And I'm very fortunate to be able to even just have that to say. So like, why wouldn't I go chase my dreams and go all in if I have that to fall back on? It's like almost a slap in the face to people who don't have that, for those fortunate for those types of things in the world, to not go do it. And, once I went in with that mindset, I'm like, I'll go all in and figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's an amazing perspective. I think like that too. Like I'm very grateful to have in-laws that like have always, pushed us to go after things. My husband and I were both not entrepreneurs until the past couple of years. And like when we finally leaped in with our businesses, they were like, finally. And that was such a cool thing. So you just said the word relationships. I want to talk about that because you're dealing with so many people, on the artist management side, sponsorships, asking for money. One of the hardest things for newer artists, or even more established, is the networking and building relationships. I think a lot of people don't know how to approach it because they don't want to come off as transactional. And then what I always try to educate is like, well, don't be. Like, see how you can add value.
But I literally saw your post the other day as like, this is how you write and approach someone and come in to like offer value. So like, I already know you and I are so aligned on this.
I love that.
Post is fantastic, by the way, and really valuable to up and coming artists on how to approach someone from a place of like, I'm going to bring you value. I'm not sitting here asking for a handout or asking for things. Like, genuinely reaching out. And again, like you made a good point, is like doing your homework on the person and not just coming in and saying, hey, how can I help? Looking at them and going, hey, I saw you're working on X, Y, and Z. Well, hey, I'm a graphic designer, a web designer. Like, I need to build my portfolio out. Like, you hit the nail on the head. I could almost just read your tweet here and answer the question verbatim, because I would approach it the exact same way, because I look at everyone and I go, how can I give them value? And the thing I'll elaborate on just a little further is, if you're giving someone something with the expectation of getting something in return, you are not truly giving. I approach everything to give value, and I have no expectations for anyone to give me anything in return at all. I am just giving to give, because that is who I am, and that's how I've built my relationships over the years. Now, what's happened in that mindset is, have things turned around and come back to help me in the long run? 110%. Sometimes it happens immediately. Sometimes it happens 2 or 3 years later. I can't tell you how many times like I helped someone back in like 2017 or 2018, and we're in 2025, and it has come full circle and like now wound up helping me on a project just because I lent a hand to someone back then. It happens so much. But again, like, give value, do your research on how to give value, and give without expectation of anything in return.
Yes, it's so true. The long game is something that people do not understand, because, we're in the era of virality and wanting things immediately, and Amazon and whatever, and it does trickle into relationships. And it's like, you don't realize you're putting chips in the bucket for something, like you said, to come back 2 years later. And it's like, all of a sudden, and it's not just relationships, but it's also reputation. I am someone who really cares as a small business owner about my reputation. And so whenever I'm working with someone, whether it's the photographer I just shot with last week, or hair and makeup, or like graphic designer, or videographer, I am always paying on time. I am super communicative, nice. Like, all of these things matter so much. And because it's not quantifiable, people do not put emphasis on it.
And you have to lean into the intangibles, like, and I hate to keep going back to sports, but like, you can measure for baseball, you can measure how far someone can hit a ball, how hard someone can throw, how fast they can run. But like, you have to be able to measure, you can't measure heart. And you hit the nail on the head of just holding that reputation. Like, you could spend years of paying your bills on the right time, doing the right thing, always being good to people. And it takes 5 minutes to literally undo 5 years worth of work. And I see that happen, unfortunately, and we see it so much in our industry with, someone will make a bad decision on one night and undo years of something they built, so it comes down to just committing to doing the right thing, being right by people. And, I can't tell you how many times, like, I'd lose on a show so bad. And I'm like, I would sit there and I'm going to scrap to pay this bill. Like, I am not going to be known as the guy who doesn't pay his bills by any means at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important. And I think too, I mean, I'm not the only house music podcast that's out there. There's been more and more popping up, which I love to see. But what I'm seeing this as is, this is a trend towards artists should be keeping in mind that they're going to need a PR strategy. They should be incorporating that into their marketing, their overall just plan, their branding plan, because with these podcasts and interviews, there's more opportunities for artists to have these types of conversations. And it's an important, like John Summit, I love how honest he is. I've heard him say this in multiple interviews, even when Sherm interviewed him in person. We have a little friend in the background. He said, I'm doing more of these interviews because I have a fear of public speaking. And so I'm doing this to like force myself to be better. And so it's like, hey, this industry is growing and you're going to have more opportunities to present yourself to the world. So you better be thinking carefully, because you don't want to come off as like, I'm this amazing, nice person. And then behind the scenes, everyone's like, bullshit. Like, you're the hardest person to work with, X, Y, Z.
Oh, that's the thing, is like, I can't tell you how many artists, like, one, yes, I want to love the music, but like, I don't love you as a person, or like then your art goes out the window to me. And I think that's why like something long form like this is so great, because you really get a chance to dive in, see the mindset, character, and like the characteristics of that human being. And at the end of the day, yes, we all want to support good art. Like, I think what everyone strives to support more is good humans. And so I couldn't agree with you more. You have to have that strategy and get yourself as a person out there. Like at the end of the day, for artists, like your art is 20% of your project. And like, even at this point, I'm like, I think that's a gracious statistic where like 80% is who you are, your brand, your storytelling, and how can you connect with the listener at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, with so many options out there, you really have to compel people to choose you. And that's the
8,000
case.
to 100,000 songs uploaded to Spotify a day. How do you separate yourself?
Yep. And it all it is about how you can connect with an artist. And I mean, James Hype, he's controversial, right? There's so many people who say he's corny or whatever. I love James Hype for his music, and I also love everything he puts on social media because he tells people his story of how he got to, it's so
Yeah.
inspiring.
I
And
think I saw the one of him and Ibiza the other day where his laptop got stolen right out of his
yep,
car. He had no money to get off the island. And he's like, I almost gave up right there. And I think showing like just even a level of vulnerability to a human, like we've all been in tough times. And like, I think when people can relate to vulnerability, because we all go through it. Like, and the thing is, so many people just try to push this positive highlight narrative. Look at me at this show. Look at me here. Look at this big record, blah, blah, blah. But like, hey, look at me when I faced this difficult time and overcame it. Like, you can do it too.
yep, yep. It everybody can relate to that in one sense. And I think it's so important. So what makes you trust someone in the industry? Because there's a lot, I mean, entertainment in general, right? Attracts a lot of snake oil salesmen and people who are in it for the wrong reasons. So whether you're working with an artist or a vendor for an event, what makes you trust someone?
Yeah, definitely. Everyone always says actions over words. And sure, that's great. What I think is intentions over actions over words, because I look at someone's intention. What is their intention behind doing this? What's the thing that's making them tick to want to drive this forward? I'm a psychology major coming out of school. So, for me, it's like, it's behavior. And, you could have a bad intention, and just because you don't take the action on it right then and there doesn't mean that the intent wasn't malicious or poor. So I really just try to look at people's intentions. And I think the biggest thing and why it goes back so hard to relationships is like, the first thing you do before you go work with someone or go on, like, you're going to vet them. You're going to reach out to other people that you've seen work around, especially in the music industry or even in the partnership and sponsorship world. Like, I'm going to make five, like, if I go to manage an artist, I'm going to make 5 to 10 calls to people I know have seen you, worked around you. I'm going to get a gauge on you as a person. And it goes back to like, even when I was getting recruited for Division I college baseball, like, they were going and reaching out to my teachers and professors and past coaches. How is he off the field? Is he going to be an issue in there? Is he out partying every weekend? How's he going to be in the clubhouse? Is he a good teammate? So I think at the end of the day, when you're going to make a decision to go work with someone, you're going to vet them and go do that. So, I really try to have my conversations with them, ask a lot of questions, get to the root of their intentions. And then at the end of the day, I'm going to go do my homework and find out who else you've worked with and how you've been. And I'm going to reach out to people I trust from relationships I've built. And I think that's really where I lean into to establish that trust.
That's huge. And it goes back to the reputation and being a good person.
Reputation precedes you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such a small industry. I mean, we chatted for 5 minutes before this and like how many mutual contacts, like, oh, you just talked to that person. I just talked to that person. Like it's crazy. You never realize how small it is until you kind of like first get into the bubble. And I feel lucky that and I think this is the case for most DJs. I was a fan for so long and kind of integrated with my local scene to get an understanding of that. But like, you learn things that surprise you, like, oh, the person who I thought was the decision maker actually isn't. Like things like that, where like
you can put a false front out on social media, put a thing in your bio, and you can make the storefront, and the facade look good. But ultimately, like the more you get into, you're like, oh, that person actually calls the shots or pulls the levers or things like that. That gets flushed out really quickly once you're actually, there's a difference between being in the scene and being in the industry.
right.
Once you step into the industry, you start to realize those things for sure.
Totally. And on the opposite end, it's like, I feel like I have a lot of sympathy for some people here locally who catch a lot of flack for bookings when they literally, like, it's not all up to them. And so like, I operate being kind of like this I'm not, I work in the industry, but like as more of like a journal. So I just get to see all the perspectives. And so like I just always
Talk to a lot
encourage,
of people too. So I
yeah,
mean, you don't see a lot of perspectives. You're hearing a lot of perspectives, and you're hearing a lot of the inner workings. So you absolutely have your thumb on the pulse of so many different things from that perspective. You really get to see it from a bird's eye view. And so I think
yeah.
that gives you a really unique view of how you get to perceive the industry.
Empathy. I have
It,
empathy for everybody. Like
exactly.
that's all it is. I haven't become jaded at all. I just have empathy. And
I
like
love
that's kind of my goal and like my Patreon students and stuff. Like when I talk to them, it's like that. And that's why I bring on people like yourself who have worked so hard and you don't get, you're putting your artists at the forefront and behind the scene. Like I say behind the scenes, but you're like known in the industry, but like the fans don't know. And so that's why it's
that.
important to put you to the forefront because people need to hear directly from
Yeah.
people like you, what
You hit
it's like to
the
work.
head is like, I don't need to be the guy on stage. Like my company is called Empowered Management for a reason. Like my entire, I saw this on Shark Tank. Damon John said this. He goes, brand yourself in 2 to 4 words. And I had to really think, I'm like, that's so hard to do. How do I encompass what I am in 2 to 4 words? It really made me think. It took me months to actually like finish this exercise. And finally I came up with 3 words and said, I empower people. And I have leaned into that my entire career now, where if I can provide value to empower someone else, if I can help my artists reach their dreams, if I can help my sponsors reach their goals, if I can help my attendees have the best nights of their lives, then I've found my brand and my footing in this world. And the more I've leaned into that, the more my dreams have come to pass, actually. But it all starts with what I can do for someone else. And, that's really where I've leaned into and found my own personal brand within this industry.
That's so amazing. And I love Shark Tank so much. Watch
Yeah.
it every single night actually. Like we go
Same.
back
I've
into the
almost
archive.
every episode.
It's amazing. I encourage DJs to watch too because it'll give you ideas.
It's free game.
Yeah, it teaches you so much about business. That show is such a gem.
It
Um
is.
so in your opinion for artists who want to break in, is it skills or mindset first? What do they need to work on?
Again, it goes to that grit, like the intangibles. Again, like I can measure your monthly listeners, I can measure your Instagram followers, but like, are you the person who's going to quit when it gets hard? Are you the person that's going to get down on themselves when you get said no to for the 100th time? Like because like I know I'm committed. Like I am in this for good, bad, or indifferent, hell or high water. And for my artists, like if you're not on the same path, like we're not going to work well together, plain and simple. Like I
Yeah.
have to know that you are in this no matter the result, and that you just simply love the process of this. And everyone gets so tied to the end result. And again, you hear the cliche, it's all about the journey. Well, it really is. And when you can, as an artist, go, I love the process. I like the beauty of coming up with creative content. I like the beauty of positioning my art in a way that's digestible and I can share it with others and bring emotion to others. And I just love the process of that, regardless of what happens. The second I see that mindset, I'm like, you're going to be a winner. It might take
Yeah.
you 10 years. It might take you 15, and I think that's the difference. Whereas like, yeah, you'll see the artists who, yeah, they blow up in a short period. Good for them. That's a nice path. But, your process might take you 4 extra years. Are you going to quit, or are you going to put the extra 4 years in to get to your process and result there? So it always goes back to mindset. The streaming, the brand building, the marketing, like we can work on that. Like there's strategy there, there's tools, there's PR companies, like there's consultants, like there's so many tools you can go get to do all the other stuff, and you can learn that. At the end of the day, are you going to give up when it gets tough, or can you push through? It's all I care about. Everything else we can learn, work on, or get better at.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. I realize more and more as I get older. I was difficult to work with in my 20s. Full stop. And I didn't
Knowing yourself and that level of authenticity with yourself is so important.
it took me a while to get here. And my excuse is, oh, well, I was always meant to work for myself, okay?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would have not been good on a sports team because I wasn't a team player. Now, I wasn't sabotaging people or mean, but like I just like to be an independent operator and I didn't like to be told what to do.
What
And
helps you get over that hump?
Um, I don't know if I'm over it. So I, as a business owner, I have a lot of subcontractors, and I really pride myself on being if I can not be humble for a second, I'm really good to them.
Love it.
I'll pay them more randomly when I can. Like I just paid the photographer like $100 more because I'm like, you've been so awesome. Like here's a tip. Like
It
I
goes
love
so far with people though. Like
it.
people
And I
won't always
love
remember
doing
what
it.
you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Yes. And like if I have the money, like that's like I have like this personal mission to like stimulate like the small business owner economy. So that's like my thing. But and I have learned soft skills. What I was going to say is I now realize the importance of them now, and I didn't then. I was like, whatever, because I used to be a TV journalist, and I was like, whatever. I do good stories. I get the exclusives. I do this. I do that. I don't need to be friends with anybody. I don't need to be nice. And it hurt me, and it precluded me. Like I didn't get opportunities to do the weekend anchor desk that my colleagues were because I was a bitch. And it's like full stop.
But
And so
the thing is, I think you realize like that's the what, and I think you really discovered your why.
yeah,
And, so many, people can always go like, oh, I make the best music, I have the best content, but like, why? And like,
right.
end of the day, that's what's actually going to connect with other humans is why are you doing something? It goes back to what we just talked about with intentions.
Yeah.
And so I think you really discovered your why and the what became secondary. And that's
Yep.
allowed you to operate better in the world you're in now. That's really
Yes,
cool.
if you're out of alignment with your career, you're going to be miserable no matter what. And like maybe that means you're lacking in the hard skills, but you could be a person who's super personable and friendly. Like, but for me, it really was like, even though I enjoyed the work of like being a journalist, which is like what I'm trying to, what I'm doing now at the podcast, that career was out of alignment with who I was. And, I made lots of excuses about, oh, that person got picked because they're a teacher's pet or like whatever. And it took me into my 30s to realize like, no, that was you.
Let's look within here.
Yeah. And it's a really like powerful thing when you can do that. And, I work with some amazing
into that too, because they're like, why did that person get on a label or they got the festival slot? And like, you can sit there and play that game all day, but like, what's the Viktor Frankl quote? Like, he who looks within awakens, It's really the truth. It's like, once you look within and go, I'm going to take 100% responsibility and ownership. Maybe I didn't get on this one, but like, I am going to bleed for this until I get it.
Yeah. And you know what? What if that person got on that festival slot or whatever because they have a relationship? Okay.
We'll make relationships.
You make relationships. Like we can make excuses all day, but it's not going to further our own projects. So
no excuse we've ever muttered has ever gotten us any closer to our goal.
Facts. I love that. I think that is an amazing point to end, even though I could talk to you for hours about this. Like this is great free therapy, I think, for a lot of people who need the little kick in the butt. This has been such an amazing conversation. I hope we can meet in Miami. And
we're going to run into each other if I don't already set up something to come find you. But Olivia, thank you so much for having me. I love these opportunities, and I hope even one artist comes out of this today or someone that wants to get this, they just take a little bit that helps them on their journey. And it's really cool to see what you're doing and the resources you're offering to these people in the industry, because there's not enough of them and they need more of it, honestly. So you're doing something really special.
Thank you. What strikes me most about Jason's journey is that he never waited for permission to build something meaningful. While others were complaining, and, complaining knows no generation, knows no decade. There's been complainers since the beginning of time. And while other people were complaining, he was just out there creating value and proving what's possible. And speaking of something meaningful, if you missed last week's monthly workshop via Patreon, you missed a good one. I had Prapa on to talk about creating effective Instagram reels, and it was packed with actionable strategies, unique advice that you cannot get anywhere else. You can get access to this workshop still, though. Plus, the recordings of prior workshops and a ton of other artist resources to build your career through my strategy circle on Patreon. It is linked in the show notes. Remember, guys, success in dance music isn't about luck, it's about strategy. That's your weekly elevation. I will talk to you next week.